Have you ever wondered how Europeans first came to India? The late 15th century was a time of discovery and exploration. The thirst for new lands, the allure of the unknown, and the promise of lucrative trade spurred Europeans to venture beyond the familiar. It was in this era of exploration that Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama set sail from Lisbon and found himself on the shores of the Indian subcontinent in 1498. His arrival was more than just a milestone in maritime navigation. It marked the onset of a new chapter in India's history. The direct sea route that da Gama established between Europe and India opened the doors to European colonialism and trade domination in the subcontinent. But the Portuguese were not alone in their desire for Eastern riches. Other European powers, driven by the allure of spices and other exotic commodities, soon followed suit. The Dutch, the English, the French, and later the Danes, all sought to establish their presence in India, leading to the creation of trading posts and fortifications along the Indian coastline. Their arrival was not without its challenges. The Europeans had to navigate complex local politics, engage in diplomatic maneuvering, and occasionally resort to force. They had to contend with powerful local rulers, rival European powers, and established Arab traders. The resulting conflicts and alliances reshaped the political landscape of the Indian subcontinent. Yet the European arrival also brought about profound cultural exchanges. European ideas, technologies, and customs intermingled with indigenous practices, leading to a fascinating fusion of cultures that is still evident in India today. The arrival of Europeans in India was a significant turning point in the country's history. It laid the foundation for centuries of European influence and colonial rule that would indelibly shape India's social, economic, and political landscapes. This was the beginning of a profound transformation in India's history, marking the onset of European colonialism and an era of global trade. The Portuguese were the first Europeans to set foot on Indian soil, but what led them to undertake such a perilous voyage? In the wake of the Roman Empire's decline and the fall of Constantinople in 1453, the Arab world had won control over the trade routes to India. European powers lost their direct link to the subcontinent and its bounty of commodities. A thirst for adventure and the spirit of the Renaissance stirred in the hearts of Europeans in the 15th century, paving the way for daring sea voyages to the east. This sense of adventure was coupled with advancements in shipbuilding and navigational techniques, making the previously unthinkable journey to India a viable possibility. A significant milestone that set the stage for these voyages was the Treaty of Tordesillas, signed in 1494. This agreement divided the non-Christian world between Portugal and Spain, with Portugal gaining rights over the eastern territories. This gave the Portuguese a green light to venture into the waters around India. Enter Vasco da Gama, the first European to set foot on Indian soil in 1498. His arrival in Calicut, now known as Kozhikode, was met with mixed reactions. The Zamorin, the Hindu ruler of Calicut, welcomed da Gama as his kingdom's prosperity was heavily dependent on trade. However, Arab traders who dominated the Malabar coast viewed the Portuguese arrival with trepidation. The Portuguese had set their sights on monopolizing the lucrative Eastern trade, and they were ready to push out any competitors, particularly the Arabs. Vasco da Gama's return to India in 1501 was met with resistance from the Zamorin when he attempted to edge out Arab merchants in favor of Portuguese traders. In 1505, Francisco de Almeida was appointed governor of India with a mission to cement Portuguese influence and dismantle Muslim trade. Almeida had to grapple with resistance from the Zamorin and threats from the Mamluk Sultan of Egypt. With the arrival of the Portuguese, the stage was set for a power struggle that would reshape the Indian subcontinent. Following the Portuguese, other European powers also set their sights on India. But what were their motives, and how did they establish their presence? Just as the Portuguese had been enticed by the prospect of controlling the lucrative spice trade, the Dutch, the English, the French, and the Danes were also drawn to the subcontinent. The Dutch entered the scene in the early 17th century, driven by their ambition to break Portuguese dominance over the spice trade. They established the Dutch East India Company in 1602 and set up trading posts along the Coromandel and Malabar coasts, and in Bengal. Next came the English, with the British East India Company, formed in 1600. Initially, they focused on trade, setting up factories in Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta. However, their ambitions soon turned to territorial control, leading to conflicts with local rulers and other European powers. Meanwhile, the French, under the French East India Company, established their first post in 1668 in Surat, and later in Pondicherry. They too faced opposition from local rulers, leading to military engagements as they attempted to expand their influence. Last but not least, the Danes arrived. The Danish East India Company, established in 1616, set up trading posts in Tranquebar and Serampore. Though the smallest player, they managed to maintain a peaceful presence until the mid-19th century. The arrival of these European powers was not without conflict. They clashed with each other and with local rulers, leading to wars and alliances that would reshape the Indian landscape. Their presence also brought about cultural exchanges, from new architectural styles to the introduction of Western education. Yet, the long-term impact of their arrival was far from benign. They exploited India's resources, disrupted local economies, and altered societal structures. Among them, the British would eventually come to dominate, their influence culminating in 2 centuries of colonial rule. The arrival of these European powers brought about a new era in Indian history, marked by global interactions and conflicts, and the eventual establishment of British colonial rule. The advent of Europeans in India was a significant turning point in the country's history. From Vasco da Gama's first voyage to the establishment of trading posts by various European powers, this period marked the onset of global interactions that would indelibly shape India's destiny. These events led to a reshaping of Indian society, laying the foundation for centuries of European influence and colonial rule. The Portuguese, Dutch, English, French, and Danes all played their roles in this historical narrative. Their arrival brought about cultural exchanges, conflicts with local rulers, and competition for trade dominance. From the spirit of the Renaissance driving adventurous sea voyages, to treaties dividing the non-Christian world, these factors all contributed to the advent of Europeans in India. As we delve into the annals of history, we unearth the layers of this fascinating period. The imprint of this period continues to shape India's social, economic, and political landscapes, reminding us of the profound impact of global interactions on a country's destiny.